The following is an excerpt from Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech on August the 28th of 1963. Something I wanted to throw in real quick that I thought was interesting when I was doing some research on this. Every part that says about I have a dream was not in his written speech. He had written his entire speech, and he had gotten to a certain point, and someone in the audience, because he often talked about the American dream, and someone in the audience had said, "Talk about the dream, Martin," and that just prompted him, and everything that came after that was inspired and wasn't part of the written talk. So I thought that was really interesting. And so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama with its vicious racists, that little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
Between I Have a Dream and Imagine, this is kind of an overwhelming place to be right now, isn't it? What a beautiful idea of our world, and I know that it absolutely can and will be at some point in time. I know that. I remember when I was a kid, my parents used to say to me, "You can't change the world. You can't do it. You can't change everybody." I would bring home the strays. Anybody here relate to that? And I remember on the first night that we held Common Ground, I remember sharing that story and ending it with, "But I can help one person at a time," starting with me. And that is probably the biggest lesson that I have learned over these past 8 years. And what a blessing, what an absolute blessing that is. Okay, I'm good. So, Walt Disney tells us this: all of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. So, we get to do the work. What a surprise there. How many of you have maybe had a dream that was so large, so vast, so big, that it seemed as if it were an impossible accomplishment? Have you? Because if you haven't, you're really missing out. You're missing out on life, what life wants to give to you with. We get to write our own dreams. And part of that process is identifying with our gifts and our talents, and then sharing them with the world. Our dream lies within the abilities and the talents that we have been blessed with. And we have each been blessed a little bit differently. Maybe with the same attributes, showing up, however, a little differently. And those God-given gifts that we have been given, we are to utilize, to cultivate during our time here on this planet. Those are our unique contributions to making this world a better place. We are called to be and to reach so far out of our comfort zone that sometimes we're not even sure why we're doing what it is we're doing. Have you ever been in that space? Why am I doing this? Because I'm called to, and that is our opportunity to trust that the universe is absolutely conspiring on our behalf. That the universe is working with us. We have each and all been born with that unlimited potential. And our work here in life is to realize and live that full potential. And we cannot do that. We won't do that if we dream small. John Lennon certainly didn't dream small, did he? And it's our responsibility and our privilege to live our dream. The universe needs our help in its effort to expand into more, to expand into greater. And the universe can only achieve perfection if all things natural undergo that cycle of achieving their growth and achieving their expansion. And that includes us, by the way, doing what it is each thing does best. Imagine this. Imagine if the trees and the grass decided one day not to grow. Or if the oceans decided to no longer participate in that cycle with the moon or the sun or the rotation of the earth. Everything, including you, in the universe is like a dance. It's like a symphony. It all works together. We need everyone and everything's participation. That is how life evolves. That is how life evolves into higher beingness. The phrase, "I have a dream," has become synonymous, hasn't it, with peace, justice, freedom, equality for all human beings. It wasn't just really a black and a white issue. It was equality for all beings. And that speech of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was 50 years ago this month. Can you believe it? Most of us were there. Well, not in Washington, but we were there to remember that. Now, that was a defining moment in our history. And not just in the U.S., I believe that, in the world at large. Look at the idea of the butterfly effect, which is this: a small change in one place can result in a large change in a completely different place. And that name was derived from the idea of a hurricane's formation being contingent on whether or not a distant butterfly had flapped its wings weeks earlier. And did Martin Luther King ever flap his wings in a really big way, didn't he? Bringing awareness of the idea of equality for all beings. Several historical events have occurred since 1963. The Great Wall of China, although it never really prevented invaders from entering, it was built to keep people out. It functioned as a psychological barrier between China and the rest of the world. Now, it's never been taken down or destroyed, nor has it ever been maintained. Roadways have been cut through those walls in various points. A lot of the sections have deteriorated, allowing nature to do its own thing. And now it has become mainly a tourist attraction. The Berlin Wall, put up by the German Democratic Republic, 1990 actually, it was taken down. And what did that do? It was separating Germany from its own people. Once it came down, it allowed for that unification of East and West Germany. The Cold War, 1947. Do you realize that they say that went until about 1991 between the United States and then USSR? And what was that about? Economic and political differences. I cannot tell you historically that those events have anything to do with Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. I can say I have a deep belief, however, in that butterfly effect. So I cannot tell you it didn't have anything to do with that speech. Does that make sense? Little by little, our world is opening up and changing. And we are in the middle of that change. We get to experience that. We get to see it. And as we encourage it, it happens more. When groups like ours come together and see and understand the oneness of all, life can't help but be different. Life can't help but change. That's how we become an instrument of the divine, a conscious interest, a conscious instrument of the divine. We become that by believing ourselves to be worthy of who we are and what it is we're called to do in this life. It takes trust, it takes courage, it takes strength, and that too is part of our journey. One of the greatest gifts that Martin Luther King gave us was to show us how that strength, how that courage, and that trust in life can bring about great, incredible change. As we build upon our dreams, our wishes, our desires, our perception of the world changes. Our perception of humanity changes. And we begin to recognize the deepest desires of our heart. We learn to break through that limiting, self-defeating thoughts. And we move into that realm where the impossible absolutely becomes possible. We come to realize that that dream is as great as the person we become through living that dream, through pursuing that dream. And to get to a dream, we're ignited with an idea. Not just any idea. It is an idea that comes up deep from within us, from within our soul. And it keeps speaking to us, and it keeps nudging us, and it keeps tapping at us. That is our purpose. That is our dream. That is the road to travel. This man, how many of you have heard of him? His name is Leon. Can't help you with his last name. Has anybody read this story or seen this story? Well, he's on his mission. He's a man that was working in London at one time. He was a broker, and he decided to travel the world and connect with people. And he's riding this silly-looking yellow motorcycle while doing it, and he calls this motorcycle Kindness One. He intends to complete the travel all the way around the world. He's got this whole itinerary. And he intends to do that on nothing but the kindness of strangers. No money, no clothes, no food, no place to stay. So he's already begun his journey here in the United States. He's counting on the generosity of the human spirit to keep him going. Do you think it's working?
Sure.
Absolutely it is. So far, so good. In Las Vegas, he found a family that gave him food and a place to sleep. In Nebraska, there were a bunch of cowboys let him stay on their ranch. Now, in Pittsburgh, she laughs.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh, he was turned down by a dozen people. And then he ran into a homeless man. And this homeless man shared his food, shared his clothing, and invited him to sleep in this dilapidated garage that he'd been sleeping in. And he said, you know what, that's what it's all about. That's where the magic is. In connection, heart to heart. Now, is that a beautiful story or what? I just love that. He said he's going to be taking a ship over from New York to somewhere in Europe. And he intends to do it on my money. And he said he will. And I say, good luck. And you go. That's awesome. Jonathan Ellerby, who's an author, wrote this: "It is through this direct experience that you will sense the evidence of a world that can only be measured by the heart." And isn't that the truth? Only measured by the heart. The way that we're showing up in the world is cultivated by our personal practice, by how we're showing up in the world, by who we're connecting with, by what it is we're doing, how we're sharing. Once we begin to have that direct experience of heart to heart, we find that people all over this planet, at the very core, are all the same. Haven't you found that? Everyone has feelings. Everybody hurts. Everybody loves. Everybody has disappointments. Everybody has successes. We're all the same at the core. And with anyone, we can experience that intimate relationship with the divine. It's always there, always available. And what's important is for us to continue that practice, to immerse ourselves in a practice of connecting, not just with like-minded people, with everyone. And to do so with depth, with honesty, with vulnerability. There's that V word. Real quickly, I want to tell you, I was at the doctor last week. I had to have some x-rays. And this man said to me, "So what do you do?" Well, as most of you know, in Riverside and Corona, it's not really very popular what we do here. So I usually dodge that question gently and delicately and dance around it. And I don't know, the other day I just felt old. Yay! I know. And I said, "Well, I'm an interfaith minister." "Oh, non-denominational?" "Well, no." Thinking, how am I going to dodge this? So he said, "Well, I don't understand." And I said, "Well, I'll pass to God." And, he was really taken aback for a moment because he started coming back to me with scripture from the Bible, which was okay. And I really did learn a lot from him. And we were able, the point of that story is we were able to speak human to human, although we saw the life very differently. As I posed some questions to him about, do you see that at the core we're all the same? Do you see that your religion teaches love? "Well, yeah, but..." Right? "Do you see that Islam teaches..." "Well, yeah, but..." Okay? And so, a seed. And I thought, you know what? I could do this. There was no argument. There was no fisticuffs, right? We were just two human beings discussing our beliefs. And what a gift that was. And you know what? I almost didn't receive that gift. Almost didn't receive it. Instead, I chose to open up and take my chances. And it worked out beautifully. Consciously embracing love and connection and empowerment are very simple yet very profound ways that we can make our everyday life a spiritual practice. So I want to close with a quote from Howard Thurman, which was in One River, Many Wells. And this is probably one of the most beautiful things I have ever read, and just was appropriate for today. "It is my belief that in the presence of God there is neither male nor female, white nor black, Gentile nor Jew, Protestant nor Catholic, Hindu, Buddhist or Muslim, but a human spirit stripped to the literal substance of itself before God. Our essence. At some level, each and every single one of us experiences that deep connection to all of humanity. I say, let's commit to working on the healing of ourselves so we may heal a part of this world. And so thank you so much for being here while I shared this truth as I understand it.